So today in this video, I'm gonna share with you Play-Doh. I'm gonna share with you some activities and games that are educational that you can do to help your child with their literacy skills, reading skills, pre-writing skills. Look, Play-Doh is not just fun and games. It's fun, but they're actually learning and building strength while doing so. So I'm gonna reassure you through all of this. I'm gonna give you 25 different activities and I'm gonna break it down for you. But first of all, my name is Leilani. This is my channel, Living with Eve, and I am a former public and private school teacher. I do homeschool evaluations in the state of Florida, and I am a homeschool mom of 4, including my youngest daughter that is 7 years old and has Down syndrome. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, but let's get into this Play-Doh thing. First, we are going to talk about sensory processing disorder, and that has to do with the texture of things, whether you like the texture or don't like the texture. I have a whole video. I'm not going to get into it right now, so I'm going to put it in the iCards right up here if you want to dig deeper into what sensory processing is. But when it comes to Play-Doh, texture is a big thing. And some of the things that we will do just to get her familiar with this kind of texture, my kids, is I will have them do a lot of pinching and pretty much any activity, to be honest, pinching and rolling. One tool that we have done, and if you don't have this tool, look, it's fine. You can use a fork actually from your kitchen. You can use a spoon from your kitchen. You can even use the top of a marker. I'm telling you, pencils, anything. But it's this idea, I have this tool right here. It's this idea of pushing into the Play-Doh and feeling how soft or how hard you need to push in order to get what you want, right? And then of course the pulling as well. If the child does not really know that they need to push harder, if they feel like they're pushing lighter, you can always do hand over hand with them. This one's cool because it creates different shapes. If you do get like a Play-Doh kit, sometimes you'll get these little rolling pins. It's kind of the same idea. You want to be able to practice this. Actually, you can do both hands. Putting pressure on something to know exactly how hard or how soft to push it. Now, this is really good to develop, like I said, sensory processing skills, of course, but pressure in general, strength in general. See, the thing is some kids, when they get older, when they're writing, some of them will start to push down too hard or they will push down too light. That's a sensory processing thing. And using Play-Doh to kind of find that right amount of pressure is a great. So, because I said the word fine motor skills, it pretty much encompasses a bunch of different skills in general. So within fine motor skills, you've got the strength of the hands. And that's when you have a lot of grasping and pulling in general and manipulating with all of your fingers. And, of course, this can get really, really boring. So then you can add in making snakes or sticks, whatever you want to call them. But getting them, and this is also sensory, see, they all tie in really. This is also sensory processing as well, because you're having to put the right amount of pressure down to get the desired size of the snake. But if you take these sticks or snakes and you make them a certain length, you can start to form letters with them. So in this case, I can form the letter L. It's a really long L. So I can pinch right here and pull some of this off. You can also use a knife or a fork to cut. Kitchen utensils are amazing when it comes to Play-Doh because it can kind of mimic food. And those kids that are struggling with having to pick up their food and putting the right kind of pressure, this is going to help that in a non-eating type environment. In a fun environment because you got all these different colors. So making sticks, creating letters, you can also create shapes with them as well. You can make boxes. And here's the thing, when you make boxes, what you can also do is after you get your box, you can now take the Play-Doh and fill in the box by smushing it. And you can use all different fingers. So using your index finger for the strength, poking it like this, right? You can switch fingers. That's if you really want to, challenge them. Do each finger individually to spread it out. But this one's the main one. right here that you really want to work on strengthening. So spreading it out, and now you have a square. There you go, filled in. You can also do this on paper as well. Like you could draw a triangle and smush it in to fit the triangle. Just this idea of smushing and strengthening those fingers with the Play-Doh, especially your pointer, thumb as well. You can also, to strengthen this finger and any fingers, is you can take this and pretend to make cookies. There's lots of ways to do that. Pretend play is a great way. Oh my gosh, just be creative with your pretend play, okay? There's a reason why Play-Doh is in business. So whenever you buy those Play-Doh kits or you get them for Christmas and you're like, what am I gonna do with this? Sit down and really try to pretend play. Look at the pictures on the outside of the box to get some ideas of what you can do with the Play-Doh and show them how to do it. So that's if you get those things. But honestly, just Play-Doh by itself, you don't have to. So sometimes what we'll do is we'll take two different colors if you don't mind mixing Play-Doh. I mean, we find that Play-Doh has to get replaced quite frequently. And we'll take a little dot like this, we'll make it into a ball, or we'll split it up if it's too big, make it into two balls. But then we'll press it into the Play-Doh. And here we just kind of mix colors up. But not everybody likes to mix colors like this, because now I really did mix the colors. I can kind of pull it out maybe. You can also take beads, you can take little stones, and then you can take these and just press them with one finger into the Play-Doh to make little cookies. Or you can make like an alien face. I kind of made an alien face. And get pipe cleaners to make a smiley face. I don't know, make faces. Make faces with Play-Doh. You can also make little animals with Play-Doh too. I mean, that's another thing, that this right here in general, this circular motion right here is hand-eye coordination. So let's say I want this to be, you know, the head of maybe a sheep. I don't know why I want to make a sheep all of a sudden. You know, if you want it to have like, there's your pincher right here. Pinching, they have to pinch pencils, guys. They have to pinch pencils in order to make that tripod, especially with these two fingers. Okay, make them a sheep. Legs. We're trying here. If you can't get a three-dimensional animal, it's not that bad. If you can't get a three-dimensional animal, you can always do a two-dimensional animal. That's fine as well. You can also draw it on a piece of paper and then smush it in like I did with the square. So those are two activities you can do also with strengthening, and it's creative and it's fun and it's all the things. Now here's something too. When you want to get really small, this one I even struggle with as an adult, but taking it and rolling it into a little ball, and that's your pincher grasp strength right there. You don't want to smush it too much or smush it too light where it falls out of your fingers. Right, that comes back to the pencil holding. Too much pressure, too little pressure, all those things. This one's tough. Switch, see, I can't even do it. Switch fingers right here. That would be a fun game. Maybe a little frustrating for them. If it gets too frustrating, don't do it. Get back to just having fun and building something, because now I just want to construct something. I don't know. Okay, so we're still talking about fine motor skills. We have talked about strengthening those fingers with the pinching and even just the pulling too as well. We also talked about the pincher grasp when you're doing the ball, when you're, you know, even the pulling apart. There we go, pulling apart and building and pinching. We've also indirectly talked about using the thumb with that pincher grasp. Or here's one that's actually really fun, is hiding small objects in the Play-Doh. That's if you are okay with having your child have small objects, because I know it's a choking hazard. That's why we have these large stones that we use. I'm gonna stick them in here. I have got little like animals that I can stick in here. They can stick them in there. How fun is it to wrap the Play-Doh around it? Then the fun part is getting these babies out. Now there's a lot of different things that you can do with sticking small objects in Play-Dohs and having them pull them out. You can do like a treasure hunt. Pretend that they're opening a treasure box of Play-Doh and there's money inside of it and they get to keep the money. You can do animal identifications. So if you have a bunch of these little animals, you can hide them in there, pull them out. Color classification, sorting when you do it. The tricky part too is making sure you get all the Play-Doh off of the objects. That in and of itself is definitely working those fine motor skills. Still dirty. Toothpicks are great. You can make a little stand. All right, stick some toothpicks in it. And then if you have beads laying around the house, you can bead it. Or even buttons, you can stick buttons on the toothpicks. That's some good hand-eye coordination right there. Also tweezers. Tweezers are great to stick in and pull things out with. Something like this. So my bunny rabbit, I want to put my little bunny rabbit guy into the Play-Doh. I can push him in and use the tweezers to kind of wrap it around him like a little blanket, a bunny blanket. Pretend like he's going to sleep for the night. Right now he's a little taco. Right now I want to wake him up. I can go digging. And it's really hard to do. I can pull him out. So there you go, tweezers. Okay, let's talk about bilateral coordination. That's the ability to use both sides of your body to do stuff, all right? And some kids really struggle with this. They only want to do one thing with one hand. Now, my favorite thing, honestly, in the world to help with bilateral coordination is cutting. Not many people realize this, and they do make Play-Doh scissors. But when you cut, you have to make sure you don't cut yourself over here, and you have to kind of rotate things around with your other hand to help. See, look at that. I mean, obviously preschooler is going to go a lot slower, but see how I used both hands together to create something or to do something. But let's talk about crossing the midline. So that's another one that's really important, especially when you're writing, and reading actually. When you're writing, you're going from one side of the paper to the other. So that's actually crossing that midline. So here's your midline whenever you have to cross. And you want to be able to do it with both hands, even if you're right-handed or left-handed. So in this case, with Play-Doh, what you can do is have them work on one side, but have them cross the midline to put it on the other side. Whether you have a bowl or a container, you can even just simply take the Play-Doh container and say, all right, take your Play-Doh, roll it up into little balls, and see if you can put it in the container. So crossing the midline this way, and of course you want to do it both sides, regardless if they're right-handed or left-handed. You just want to get them crossing that midline. Of course, whenever you have objects in the Play-Doh, if you do that and they're color-coded, you know, let's say they take it out and maybe put it on one side, they take it out, you want to have them color code them. And as they're color coding the objects, they're moving their hands in all different sorts of directions. Okay, this one's really fun too. Make a really long snake. Now that I've got my lovely snake, I'm going to make this guy into a caterpillar by pinching, but I have to hold it down, right? So I'm using both hands, but I'm actually crossing the midline as well because, you know, when I get to the other side of the caterpillar, which will eventually happen, here I go, I'm crossing the midline. I'm still pinching. He's a really long caterpillar now. And then, for the fun of it, you can go ahead and use something to cut it. Make it into pieces. Who knows, it's a flatworm. I don't know why you would teach your kids about flatworms, but I don't know. Now, going back to literacy, I can't even stress enough how great this is for building letters. I kind of briefly touched on the literacy, but look, you could write stuff out and have them read it. Look, get these plastic cover sheets or a laminating machine. These are great because you can just take a sheet, write numbers on it, and just copy the shape. And then you're not wasting paper because you're doing it over and over again, and because you're reusing it, okay? Plastic cover sheets are the best thing for preschoolers, first graders, kindergartners. I mean, they're amazing. Another thing you can do if you're comfortable pushing stuff onto a wall, there is something so special about working vertical on a wall with letters and writing. So let's say that I want to write my name. All right, let's go for it. Here's my M because I'm mom. I'm pushing the M into the wall. Did you get the idea? I mean, I'm not going to make you watch me write my entire name, but there you go. The challenge is to keep it up. And the challenge is not to push it too far in that you're going to leave Play-Doh on the wall. So there you're going back to that sensory processing and the pressure. But vertical, there's just something so special about working vertical, and you're crossing the midline too. So it's just a win-win. So form me letters, form me words, form me numbers. Oh, you can count with these things too. I mean, come on, right? You could do math. I mean, just write out those balls, count them, do some subtraction with them. You know, did you see my point here, what I'm getting at? There's a couple of other benefits to Play-Doh that is not necessarily educational, but it's actually really good for a person. First of all, it's very calming for a lot of people, unless you're very, very highly sensitive to this feeling of texture. But for most people, it's very calming, very relaxing. Also, a lot of kids, when they're going through therapy sessions, they will have a can of Play-Doh and the kids will fidget with the Play-Doh while talking. And they will become more open, they'll open up, they'll share things with you. The pretend play with the social skills and Play-Doh, I mean, there's endless things that you can do with it. You're using creativity, you're communicating with others on what you're doing. So I hope this video helped you guys out, maybe encouraged you guys to use your Play-Doh differently or more, but also to help you understand that it is really helping your child out when you do use Play-Doh. So let me know in the comments down below if there's anything that I missed, activities that you'd like to share with the rest of the group, or if you have some questions, feel free to write those in the comment section down below. Thank you again. My name is Leilani. This is our channel, Living with Eve, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys. Bye.